for my thumbnail. I thought, well, I'll just go into CCTV because I've got them webcams everywhere across every big city, and I'll get one that's shooting across Westminster with Parliament in the background. And every single webcam in London was off air, and that was really peculiar. And as I say, Russell Brand started talking about that in one of his podcasts, and my video went a wee bit viral. I think a couple hundred, which is a lot for me, a couple of 100,000. So these weird things happen with webcams. But yeah, I kind of think if you want to find a bad person, there'll be loads of footage about somewhere.
Yeah, so it's just come out in the Times and a few other places as well about Petro, the third man's name, Petro, Pochinok. Petro Pochinok. So the third Ukrainian charged in the arson conspiracy into the Starmer-linked properties has been named Petro Pochinok, 34, has been charged with conspiring with Roman and Stanislav and others. So there are more coming. Others unknown, they're being called presently, others unknown, to damage by fire property belonging to another, intending to damage the property, intending to endanger the life of another, or being reckless as to whether the life of another will be thereby endangered. Pochinok was arrested on Monday in the Chelsea area on suspicion of to commit arson with intent to endanger life. Shortly before 10 a.m. on Wednesday, that's today, he was driven to Westminster's Magistrates Court in an unmarked police van under police escort. So that's just happened, I guess. The 34-year-old appeared in the glass-fronted dock in court number 2 at Westminster Magistrate, wearing an Alvin Star, I'm just joking, wearing a grey prison-issue tracksuit with his hair blow-dried like Gary, joking, folks. Speaking through an interpreter, he spoke only to confirm his name, address, and date of birth. As part of the same investigation, Roman is charged with 3 counts. He appeared on May 16th. Stanislav has been charged. He appeared on Tuesday at the Old Bailey. And the trio's charges all relate to a series of fires at the properties linked to Keir Starmer between mid-April and early May this year. Wow.
See the Pochinok bit, Shaun. I know we spoke about it off air. I don't think we spoke about it since we hit live. I went and Googled. I think I found him. I think I found him on LinkedIn, right? But and then I was like, Pochinok, where's that name come from? So I put in the meaning or the origins of Pochinok, right? And I found out, and I'm going to read verbatim, the surname came from the nickname Pochinok. In the Ukrainian language, Pochinok means yarn wound round a spindle. And you go, well, we say spinning a yarn, right? And you think, is this whole thing made up? Is this somebody's total best bam-up, piss take, whatever it is you want to call it? When the guy that's just been charged, his name loosely translates to spinning a yarn. And you're like, it's Austin Powers, mate. We're living in an Austin Powers script.
This is what we're saying. They're just doing it in our faces now. Just absolute taking the piss. It's like,
it's bonkers.
Just when you think it can't get any weirder, it just gets weirder and weirder. Pochinok.
Aye, spinning a yarn, or a yarn round a spin. You're like, I don't know, man. I recognise that phrase, right? Oh, I don't know, man. Honestly, see if the fourth one comes in the silver platform boots singing, come on, I'm out. I'm retiring.
So, someone said that Katie Hopkins is reporting on this now. Good for Katie. We're trying to get Katie on later in the year. She went on my friend Andrew Gold's channel, and we are in talks with her. And but people have, seen echoes of the Profumo scandal. I'll just read what happened with the Profumo scandal. This was a major political crisis in 1963, centered on John Profumo, the Secretary of State for War. He had an affair with the model Christine Keir. The scandal erupted when Keir was also involved with Yevgeny Ivanov, a Soviet naval attaché, raising concerns about national security. Keir was also involved. So in the House of Commons, Profumo initially denied any improper conduct, but later admitted having lied. The scandal led to Profumo's resignation from the Conservative government of Harold Macmillan. The affair severely damaged the reputation of the Conservative government, which was already facing other challenges. And then Stephen Ward, a socialite who introduced Keir to Profumo, was arrested and charged with living off ladies of the night and procuring. His trial was later viewed as a miscarriage of justice. Wow. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and what you've got the difference with this possible case, because at the end of the day, they might have fell out over a window cleaning bill or something, right? It might not be sexual, right? Anyway, let's consider it as for a second. With the Profumo case, there was 3 parties involved because, and the link was the model to the current high-ranking government official to a foreign state. Well, every single person arrested here is from a foreign state, so it's potentially even more concerning that the Profumo affair needed that middle person to squeal. But if this one, and as other people, naughty bad people out there are alleging there might be a connection, a sexual connection. In this case, then you don't need that middle person. You're straight to a foreign agent is probably the nicest way of doing it.
Hey, Jody in the chat. The Nino video that was taken down, it's coming after this. I've got it scheduled for 1:15 p.m. So I went on a big channel last night exposing the network, the video that's coming at 1:15. It's called the Diddy Clinton Savile Network, and how they swallowed Justin Bieber's soul. It was taken down rapidly, but it's coming at 1:15. So stay tuned for that. And we've got a question from Hazel, and we've got almost 2,500 watching now across all platforms. Please subscribe to Craig. Link in the live chat again. There you go for his channel. Hazel's got a good question here because it was you, Craig, who put Lord Ali on my radar with one of your first videos.
Yeah, again, that was just something. Sorry.
I'll read this question from Hazel. Do you think it might be possible, hypothetically, if these young men were seen going to and from Lord Ali's property during lockdown, may have been someone other than Starmer's son? What's the connection with Lord? Let's go with the connection with Lord Ali.
Yeah, that started, and it was a rumour, and I was quite open with that when I was talking about it. I said, look, this is a rumour that might be a wild rumour, it might not be, but there's been a suggestion made that this connected property Starmer might be owned by Ali. So that was kind of it, right? But somebody came into my video today when we were talking about this new guy who buys, sells, and hires out posh clothes, said, and I'm not thinking this is possible, it was just humorous, the suggestion that these guys, the third guy, the 34-year-old that's into selling and renting out posh clothes, might be the guy that got the clothes for Ali to give to Starmer. I thought, well, that would be really funny. I don't think that's true, but yeah, and Lord Ali, who is, and to 2025, he's a homosexual. But the odd thing about Ali was Ali won. This is a guy nobody'd heard of, by the way, until Keir Starmer became the Prime Minister. And he was voted by Stonewall organisation as the politician of the decade, nonetheless. So what he's done behind the scenes for an organisation that's not really bothered about gay rights anymore, because they got that all sorted and well done for doing so. But now that their current driver is trans issues, that they would suddenly vote this guy, Lord Ali, as the politician of the decade. So he must have done quite a lot for their causes, or he wouldn't have got such an accolade. So I think any connections to him with this case would be outrageous.
So if you've just tuned in, folks, and something's just happened because 1,000 people just got knocked off the stream. Something weird's going on with this one now. If you've just tuned in, we are with Craig, who broke the news on YouTube about these suspicious characters allegedly attacking the Prime Minister's properties. And we thought we were going to be made fools of. But as you can see on the screen now, that is the picture of the second alleged attacker. That is the picture of him. This is the BBC, folks. This isn't us just putting this up there and having a laugh. This is the BBC now, and we are waiting for the picture of the third alleged attacker, and there are supposedly more unnamed attackers pending. So that's what we've been talking about so far. Now, we did have a few other subjects we were going to touch on, and if you want to see the latest reporting, please go to Craig's channel. I'm going to put the link in the live chat again. There it is. If you've got bumped off my stream, just refresh your screen, press my channel icon. It should bring you back on, because that is happening a lot. Let me know in the chat if you just got bumped off, because it fell almost. Looks like it fell almost 1,000. Let's see. Shaun, you mentioned yesterday that not many are daring to put up vids on YouTube. There's loads of story I watched them last night. Isn't going away anytime soon. Yes, Georgina. Apparently, Katie Hopkins is on the case now, and we're not knocking anyone's sexuality here. We've had guests of all sexualities on this channel. We've had some really hard-hitting stories from trans prisoners, etc., in prison, who cut off their own man parts. Really hard-hitting stuff. And but it is of the public interest when trillions, billions of UK taxpayers' money is getting funneled to a war so that Ukraine can keep the meat grinder going. Over 1 million dead. It's absolutely disgusting. You've got BlackRock and these globalist interests that Keir Starmer represents carving Ukraine up. And he's got us taxpayers footing the bill for it while they make all their profits. It's absolutely disgusting. And now these attacks come out and all these kids are Ukrainians. It is damn well right. It is of the public interest to get to the bottom of this, because it's extremely suspicious, and I can't understand why it's not all over. This should be the breaking news, top of the hour, every hour on all of the mainstream channels, as far as I'm concerned. When that much money's being spent and Donald Trump's trying to stop it, something's not right. So, there was a couple of other stories we were going to talk about, and this poor woman, Craig, Lucy Connolly, what the hell's going on there?
Yeah, and the more I find out about this case, the more concerned I am about it. Someone suggested yesterday, I do a lot of these X spaces, which for anybody who is on X that hasn't been into them, you should try and find some happy homes in these places. They're good. And we were discussing this last night, and someone asked the question, said, look, she put the tweet out, which was, I don't think anybody will defend the tweet. It was an ill-advised tweet, and it said some pretty silly things, right? But she then took it down and put up an apology and then got a door chat to the police. And somebody said, well, how many people seen it before she took it down? And there was a suggestion that it was the grand total of 26. And you're thinking, what? How does that translate into a 31-month prison sentence? That's just bonkers. And there's been other suggestions that she took a deal and just promised.
Have they just got paid informants now scanning the internet to snitch people out? Or is it cops doing it?
Well, the most likely thing is somebody in her close circle, because she didn't really have a big Facebook following from what I can gather. And it certainly wouldn't have if only 26 people seen it, or she took it down within 2.5 minutes, right? So I think it's more likely somebody in there has screenshotted it and not been happy with it, which is pretty shit. Or someone's maybe screenshotted it and posted it back out, or reposted it or something, and it's reached a bigger audience. But if none of that's happened, and she managed to get arrested even on the basis of something that was seen by an alleged 26 people, that's pretty bonkers. And I believe there's... listen, she can't appeal anymore, so she's not getting out of jail early. But I think when she does come out of jail, we might find some other things out about this story. I spoke to somebody very close to her after her sentencing, and try not say too much, but say enough as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there was information pretty horrific information come out at some point in the future about what happened after her arrest and between then and pleading guilty. I think that's probably safe for me to say that without upsetting anybody.
Craig, are you able to go to half past the hour? Because we've got so many questions that have
crack
come
on,
in.
mate. Yeah, no
Okay,
problem.
all right. What I'm going to do first is, because people have asked me to read the backstory about Lucy. So I'll read the backstory and then we'll get Craig's further thoughts. So one headline here is, I'm embarrassed for my country. Barrister launches furious tirade after Lucy Connolly's appeal is dismissed. It's a disgrace. So she's a mother who lost a child, and she was upset in the aftermath of the Southport stabbings. And she posted a tweet in the heat of the moment, and then she realized that it didn't represent her true feelings, and she removed that tweet. And it was involving what the boy band members have done to Starmer's properties. She said something along the lines about hotels housing asylum seekers. That should happen to them. I'm just going to say that. That's what she said. So she was jailed. She had a 31-month jail sentence appeal dismissed by the court, and she was imprisoned last October after making that post. And she was upset because she'd found the Southport stabbings triggering because of the loss of her own child. Yeah. Anyway, the Court of Appeal ruled that there was no arguable basis that her original sentence was manifestly excessive and refused her application to appeal against it. And these are courts that are putting grooming gang members in prison with slaps on the wrists, and they're putting this poor mum in and not letting her out. During the hearing, Connolly appeared via video link and told judges she was really angry, really upset and distressed that those children had died in the Southport attacks last summer when she shared her post. Discussing the case on GB News, barrister Stephen Barrett claimed, "It is very difficult to not reach the conclusion that it is two-tier justice for her." Barrett told host Martin Daubney, "The judges went to a particular extreme degree to try and paint Lucy as racist. They highlighted two of her tweets, which don't strike me as particularly racist, and they dismissed out of hand every piece of evidence that she gave. She's a woman of good character. Prior to this one incident, she's not charged with a dishonesty offence. Nobody thinks that she lies. So why her evidence was dismissed so categorically is beyond me." Noting a similar case of being jailed for an online post, Barrett highlighted that an illegal migrant who entered Britain was jailed for just 9 months for calling for the unaliving of people from Israel. And we just interviewed a Royal Marine who was put in prison for a Facebook post. Anyway, let's see. "I'm disappointed in these judges on a technical level of their ability to interpret words. It's a very declarative judgment. I don't think they've explained themselves at all. And they hide behind the modern technique of writing a judgment, which is to put in endless, entirely pointless words that nobody needs. I am embarrassed and ashamed for my country. This is patently ridiculous. We have become a country full of laws and no justice. I don't think anybody of any political persuasion wants this mum languishing in prison. Yet there she languishes, and it's £60,000 of our taxpayer money a year to house her. Contract going to G4S, Serco, etc. All Keir Starmer's buddies. If the judges think that this vindicates them in any way, then they are much mistaken. I am disgraced on their behalf. I am embarrassed to have them as members of the judiciary for my country." Bloody well said, I think, Craig. What do you think?
Well, I think, people suggest that if you're right of centre, you're far right, and those that are right of centre suggest there is a two-tier judiciary, and we saw a load of examples of that last summer, and this being one of them. But the two cases that I can't get out of my mind when we're thinking about Lucy Connolly is Hugh Edwards, the presenter, who got a suspended sentence, and the ex-Labour MP who battered a constituent. and didn't serve any custodial sentence either. Well, that's pretty bizarre to me, because Lucy Connolly didn't do anything physical to anybody. And there was a lot of things, because it never went to full trial, she was never given the opportunity to give her explanation of what was going on or what happened, nor her lawyers. But in the appeal, there was certain things came out, and the thing about her losing a child was horrific. And you can understand, well, yeah, I can see why the death of young children would create a spark in your head. That's totally understandable. And
yeah,
you just go, well, how serious is it? If that's a 31-month custodial sentence, then why is that man that you've got up on the screen not? Because his crime did cause actual harm. Because I've got this problem with people who, they don't excuse child pornography, but they term it differently from how I term it. Child pornography is not just the photograph. Child pornography is what happened to take that photograph.
Craig, let's say CP. Just say CP.
CP. Okay,
yeah.
CP. So when behind the CP, there is something happens to get that child into that state, into that clothes off, into that position. So that's horrific. And that man had lots of photographs of that, which only existed because of CP, right? But he didn't go to jail. But Lucy Connolly, who potentially had 26 people view which she admitted herself within a short time, removed, and then put up an apology. Now, that apology wasn't after she had a chap at the door by the police. That was well before this happened. She was remorseful. And it's ridiculous. And we had another case that I highlighted last week in a video, where there was a case of a 13-year-old girl drugged and I'm trying to watch my I don't want the channel getting taken down, but abused. And the judge, who was a Muslim, gave the guy a reduced sentence because since that attack, he's became active in his local mosque. And you go, what's that got to do with it? Now we've got sectarian judgments and sentencing. It's not just political, a two-tier thing. We've now got, and that went to appeal, and the appeal was upheld, and the sentence was found to be an unsafe sentence because it was too low. So that's not even you or I or any political commentator who could be perceived as right-wing and racist and fascist and all these silly things. That's a point of fact. It's a point of law that this judicial system is sectarian, because you get judges handing out lesser sentence to people of the Muslim faith than they had if they weren't of the Muslim faith. And this is bonkers. And we need to stop this. This is insanity.
And for viewers who are not familiar with the Hugh Edwards case, let me just read what he did. And this guy was like a fixture at the BBC for many years, reporting on, huge royal announcements, etc. He was the tip of the spear. And like Savile, it just seems that these people are embedded in this institution. And it's no wonder that they rally around and protect the club when, after Savile, they said they'd cleaned house. But they always say they're cleaning house and making changes. Yeah, in July 2023, Hugh Edwards was suspended by the BBC. Oh, with with a huge amount of pay, I believe he was still getting. Following allegations, hundreds of thousands, I believe, following allegations of, let's just say, carnal misconduct made in the Sun. The South Wales Police and the Met Police found no evidence of criminal conduct. Edwards was hospitalised with depression shortly afterwards and resigned in April 2024. In July, he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making CP images by receiving them during online chats. On the 16th of September, he was given a 6-month suspended jail sentence and placed on the Chomo register. So, this guy's got heinous images on his computer, on his phone, and you've got poor old Lucy, who does a tweet, a grieving mum does a tweet in the heat of the moment, gets sent down, and Hugh Edwards, who's in the club, gets a slap on the wrist, plays the mental health card, Have a nice day. This is the kind of society we're living in, folks. It's absolutely sickening. The other guy, what was his name? Schofield, he did the same, didn't he? Played the mental health card. Craig.
Yeah, it seems this easy cop-out, but you've got to think that anybody of any morals whatsoever would see crimes against children as the sort of worst possible. I can't think of any. Murder's murder, but murdering those beautiful little girls in Southport to me is a far worse crime, especially when it was predetermined and planned, than a 49-year-old guy, right? And that's no trying to rubbish the crime against the 49-year-old guy. But when we're in a society where it doesn't really matter, I can't help but lose a bit of faith in society. And we need to fix this. We need to build society back to having morals and standards and dignity, because we're a far way off it now.
All right, we've got 15 minutes left before we go over to the Diddy, Clinton's, Savile network and how Justin Bieber's soul was harvested. Before we do so, there was one more story that I wanted to run by Craig, and that was Tommy Robinson about to be released. And, you know, Elon Musk has been supporting Tommy Robinson. And I know he's a very decisive figure. I always have to give a disclaimer before we discuss him. There's good and bad in everybody, folks. There's good and bad in everybody. Yeah. And on this channel, we like to focus on the good in people to help it come out. And I believe that Tommy Robinson has managed to shine a light on the grooming gangs. You know, we've been exposing them for 5 or 6 years since we've been working with Maggie Oliver, the ex-cop who blew the whistle on this. And Tommy Robinson has managed to shine a light on the grooming gangs and bring it to his massive audience. So whatever you think of him, you know, let's keep the chat civilized, and we're going to discuss the possibility of him getting released. And if he gets to the back of Elon Musk, there is the possibility his political party could hold sway and get rid of Starmer and these parasites. Do you think that's a possibility, Craig?
Well, yeah, listen, I don't know if Tommy Robinson has any desires to go into politics. I don't know. I remember, I don't know why he even done it. Farage made a big thing about Tommy Robinson and, you know, he would never be allowed in reform. And that's probably true for most political parties, because most political parties have got a prescribed list where if you've been a member of X, Y, or Z in your past, then you can't join your party. That's kind of normal. And unfortunately, a couple of organisations that Tommy was a member of, and one of them indeed formed, are on the majority of parties' proscribed lists. So he probably couldn't join any existing political party. And it concerned me why Farage made this big play about it and sort of threw him under a bus and said some pretty hard. He actually claimed that this is where your sort of suggestion people have got a bit of mixed opinion on Tommy Robinson, and I totally understand that. When they're getting fed things, even by Nigel Farage, to suggest wrongly in a live interview that Tommy Robinson had in the past been found guilty of violence against a woman, that's totally wrong. That never happened. When he's got a sitting MP who's currently in Westminster just now, probably just finishing his nice subsidised lunch, who represents Reform, who had been charged successfully for assaulting a female in the past. It was kind of bonkers to me. I mean, you've got folk at Farage spinning yarns about Tommy Robinson, then you kind of understand why folk who are further to the left in politics would do it. So the whole thing, and you're right, you've got to look at the things that we do know. And we do know that he was, and not alone, but unmistakably a big push on highlighting what was going on in this country to our young people. And anybody, his biggest detractor, must be able to give him the due credit for that. And in doing that, he's ended up in jail. But what we also must remember is he gets served with 2 sentences, and they were both for civil matters. And you think, how did this civil matter end up in a custodial sentence in solitary confinement? So again, you've got to consider this claim of 2-tier judiciary. And I kind of understand that. And I saw that his video was coming off platforms a couple of weeks ago. And I didn't understand why, but then I understand now. The two tariffs that he was given, one was for the contempt of court and the other one was for continuing, that's having the video still there in the first place. And apparently that was a 4-month tariff. And I think somebody somewhere's had a sensible discussion and said, well, if that video was to not be on the platform any longer, would that see a reduction of that part of the tariff? And that's my understanding of what's happening now. And that seems like common sense, right? So I think if he walked out of jail today, he's done his time. He's done more than I think a civil matter would ever have attracted. And who knows what he'll do next. I think here's something that I remember watching on a live stream the day the big protest he had in London, where there was hundreds of thousands. And I saw his face as he turned around the corner and saw the crowd that gathered. And you could see his face full of pride and whatever. And I thought to myself, if we had a presidential election in the UK like they have in America, and it's like you're voting for the person rather than the sort of party, and that's it, they're the gaffer. And Tommy Robinson stood for election for a presidential campaign in the United Kingdom on that day. Tommy Robinson would have won it. That's how big his profile had got. That's how many people had swung. Many people have done the same journey with Tommy Robinson, where they thought, a bit nuts, football hooligan, all that carry on, to, hold on a minute, this guy's got some good valid points. I think a lot of the population have had that swing. And genuinely, his popularity was peaking more than probably any other single individual in the country at that time. And what happens next? Bang, put in jail. And I don't think that's coincidence. I think if Tommy Robinson didn't have the platform, the following that he had, I can't see that having ended in a custodial sentence, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
So, viewers, let's do a quick poll. Put a 1 in the chat if you're glad that Tommy Robinson is getting out, and you're hopeful that he's going to be making some positive changes for UK society. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't have faith in Tommy Robinson and you'd rather that he wasn't getting out early. Let's see what comes in there. And don't forget, we've just got 10 minutes left now with Craig. Please subscribe to his channel. I'll get that one in the description box. Looks like we've got lots of ones, except for Kaza, putting multiple 2s. So looks like we're running at about 90. I'm going to guess we're at about 97% ones, 95% perhaps ones. No, he's not already out of prison. I'll read you guys the news. I'll stop and we'll get Craig's thoughts, and then we're going to go over to the video I did last night that got taken down on the big channel in America about the network. So Tommy Robinson due for release in days after his 18-month sentence was cut. High Court reduced the activist's contempt of court sentence by 4 months. So it was for the civil offence for which Robinson was jailed in October, sent to prison admitting multiple breaches of an injunction made in 2021 that prevented him from repeating false allegations against the Syrian refugee who successfully sued him for libel. The sentence was made up of a 14-month punitive element and a 4-month coercive element, with the sentencing judge telling Robinson the coercive element could be taken off his sentence if he were to purge his contempt by taking steps to comply with the injunction. Now, that's interesting. Do we know what Tommy had to do then, Craig, to get that shaved off?
Yeah, that's the bit I was talking about, but I believe that was just basically to take the video off platforms.
Right,
which he done.
okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I kind of spend most of my social media time on Twitter, and I seen the discussion on this, that Tommy's taking this down, and you think he fought really hard to get it up. There must be a reason behind it. So I'm kind of happy to accept that's what that was all about. And do you know what? Who can blame the guy? Being in solitary confinement away from your young family must be tough. So, you can have all the morals and standards in the world, and folk might say, oh, well, what was the point in going through all this if he was going to take it down anyway? The guy had his own drivers for doing so. And I don't think anybody of right mind could blame him for take it down and get me 4 months out early. So, that's obviously what's happened there.
Nadine says, without Tommy, we in Germany would not have known anything about the grooming gangs. Oh, thanks, Nadine, for letting us know that. I'll continue to read this then, and we'll get more opinion. So he had applied to purge his contempt at a hearing on Tuesday, with his lawyers telling the court he had shown a commitment to comply with the order. In a ruling, Johnson said there was an absence of contrition or remorse from Robinson, but he had shown a change in attitude since he was sentenced. Robinson has given an assurance that he will comply with the injunction in the future, that he has no intention of breaching it again, and that he is aware of the consequences of what would happen if he breached the injunction again, the judge said. Robinson appeared via video link from HMP Woodhill in Milton Keynes, showed no immediate reaction once the judgment was handed down, and he is due to be released from prison next week. So what do you make of this contrition, remorse stuff? An absence of contrition or remorse, but a change in attitude.
Yeah, I think taking that down is a big step in getting him out of jail early. I think it all makes sense, and it fair play to him,
So the change of attitude was the action he took, but he's not bowing down to them and kissing their asses. He was jailed last year after admitting 10 breaches of the injunction, after the Solicitor General issued 2 contempt claims against him, after he was successfully sued by the schoolboy who'd been assaulted at Almondbury Community School. Clip of the incident was shown. We won't get into that. But this film then that he made, Silenced, was pinned to the top of his profile on X. He repeated the claims in 3 interviews. Sentencing Judge Robinson said Robinson could purge his contempt by showing a commitment to comply with the injunction, which could include steps such as removing Silenced and other publications that breached the injunction from his social media accounts. Yeah, exactly right, Craig. In March, Robinson lost an attempt to bring a legal challenge against the Ministry of Justice over his segregation in jail from other prisoners. He also lost a challenge to his sentence at the appeal court in April, but 3 senior judges said he could still reduce the period he has to spend in custody by taking the steps identified by Johnson. All right, so we've got 5 minutes left for final questions, folks. Please subscribe to Craig's channel. And what can people look forward to at your channel in the coming days? Are we going to have a Gary Glitter and a Jimmy Savile mugshot of suspect number 3 and suspect number 4 in the Starmer attack? Craig?
Do you know what we should do? We should run a book on where we end up the numbers wise. And I genuinely, actually, for pure hilarity, if it finishes on 6 and it has the Village People, then I could die happy. Run a sweepstake on how many actors does it take to light a petrol bomb, and we've conspired to light a petrol bomb.
Let me see if there's any final questions have come in then. If Starmer vacates his position, what follows? Just a different head on the snake, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's go and have a look at the British government's cabinet right now, and tell me. I think Rayner would fancy our chances, and that would just be hilarious. That would be like having Becky Lynch as the Prime Minister, absolutely bonkers. We've got a Foreign Secretary that thinks Henry VIII came before Henry VII. It's just this is a parody. Those of us that are old enough to remember Yes Minister, the programme that became Yes Prime Minister. It was a satirical look at our politicians. It's like watching that, and you know what? The Tories were bad, right? And they've somehow managed to be worse in a condensed. You'd thought that would have been possible to have a worse government than the sort of tail end of the Tories, but oh God, that'd give me strength. People go, oh, we should demand and we should have another election and all this nonsense, and that's great to think of. But the reality is, the only people that can give us an election are the government just now, right? They would need to call a really early election, and they ain't going to do that. So that's off the card. So if Starmer goes, they get to pick the next Prime Minister. And you think, well, who would they have? Do you know what I mean? There is no talent there at all, and on that front bench.
Oh
I
my
don't know, mate.
God.
Maybe just a
It's
week's a
out.
shot each. What
It's
is it?
out.
What,
The
the 40?
photo, the third
Oh, come
suspect.
on. Come
Here we
on.
go, folks. Let me get this on the screen. Oh my God. Here we go. Is
That
the
guy
boy
cannot be
band?
34. He's not 34. Oh, no. Somebody stole the poor boy's chin. I wonder if Starmer stole his chin and this is a revenge attack for stealing his chin.
What
What's-
is going on, man?
You can imagine, who's that wee Irish judge on the X Factor? You can imagine him sitting in front of me, getting all excited. Oh, you made that your own, right? Dearie me, he'd have them straight at judges' houses. Was up? You're coming with me. Oh my God!
Just when we can't get any weirder, folks, it just got one ratchet higher on the weird scale.
Oh, come on!
What do you,
I'm glad we
what do you make
finished
of
on
that?
that was great timing, mate. Well done.
Chat, come on, chat. What do you make of this guy? What do
People
you
are
make of
just
this guy?
gobsmacked, mate. What can you actually say about that?
It's
That's
brass.
not 34.
It's
That is not
brass.
34. Hold on a minute.
Where-
Stop. Craig Young. Wait a
uh,
minute. Wait a minute. See that? Wait, see that? Just stop. Freeze the world. Craig Young, Celtic strip. No, haven't. Right. I'm a very proud Rangers fan, Craig. I bet he changed his profile photo just to get at me. Oh, wow.
Ukraine's got talent.
That's incredible. Isn't this pop idol assassin attempt?
Do they look like builders to you guys, folks?
Oh, my word. What was the comment George Gallup made about their back door? That was...
Repair, backdoor repairs, something like that.
Oh, dearie me.
The Backstreet Boys.
The backdoor boys. The backdoor boys. Oh.
Oh my God. This is just...
And there's more. Did you? I'm sure you said on one of those
unknown, unnamed others. Unnamed others. There's
It's
more.
Stasi and Meta, Craig, not
There's
me.
more. There's more
Brilliant.
coming.
Hunks for hire, my good mate Kev. Hunks for hire. I'm seeing the comments going. That's fantastic.
This is the DEI Equal Opportunity Arson Camp. Ukrainian
Am
arson
I
camp
being-
here, folks.
Am I being a sort of ism, racist, no racism, homophobic? Because I don't know, right? If I make this comment, I get bracketed by saying I'm quite happy to suggest they ain't Hitman or spies, right? Is that homophobic saying that?
So, the Diddy Clinton Savile network video is beginning, folks. We're going to have to end here. It looks like we might have to bring Craig back soon because this is just...
I can't cope, mate. I can't cope. See, every time we do a third one, there'll be a fourth, and it'll be, I don't know.
Subscribe to Craig, folks. Stay tuned for the video about the network, the Diddy Savile Clinton network that swallowed Justin Bieber's soul. Coming up next. Enjoy.